people shy here. Everybody's shy. Everybody's shy. What's really the matter? What's the That's your point. It's really just for myself. How that feels. So I get you. I don't know how many of us what's here. What's the same? You care what's there. What's there, right? Okay, so sense an agent is there. So what he's trying to say is that agents have access to making your memory in order to achieve goals. Um, orchestrate workflows. There are a lot of in the state. There was a workflow. The workflow is just a process and what the process is take time and followed by people wanting to post that, right? And so think about the workflow that exist everywhere. Yeah, workflow that exist everywhere. Even in organization, in particular, school, for instance, some of your experience probably have like process that process to apply for your semester or whatever things apply for school fees, getting your certificate, graduating, everything has process procedure, whatnot. So it's the nature of complex systems for to process it. And what we're talking about was here on the ignorance time, not processing and what leaders to achieve for by making these tools memory as well. And so that's all fast, I guess, right? On the other side, fast is fast. That's not happening. We have this like, I mean, people have been against for a while, but it's, you know, what's really sparked a kind of uptake, or should I say, uh, attention, is that if you look at the architecture of agents, there's a component of an agent that involves, let's say, anything what's called infra. What's called an I communication, but you got it, anything but how's our enemy? Are we together? It's together. I get it, so I'm not together. Are we together? My job is shy, but are we together? If I know that somebody is shy, let's stop them very well. That's shy. So, anyways, like I was saying, it's all fancy. Agents are, you didn't have much of this thing. Like I said, a lot of people are talking about this thing for a while. And the reason why I started talking about it, is because I think it and all that, because companies, particular agents that it is possible for reasoning, thinking, making facts to build what should be done, right? That component, which is of course being served by LLMs today, cloud models today, that component has to improving and the improvements in the victim of the LLM. Well, to be honest, major reason why we have this still pay or spend tons of data. There's still a lot of good force involved training of each model. There's a lot of data to train them. That's why they're called large. Now, to bring it back to agents, we say types of this talk is agents need planning. And what does that mean? We think we are saying that because what happens is that carry out all kinds of actions within one place. You now have to think, what is it allowed to do? Like, can you just see this agent with trust that if you want to do what is allowed to do, don't step out of the boundary, don't your production database or send an email to a client that should not send, or maybe say social media post or something like that. It's not supposed to be. Think about the fact that agents can. So let's go to the next slide. Agents can do different kind of action, and there needs to be a way to manage, orchestrate them. Like this one, but also that part there that talks about accountability. Accountability, kind of accountability is one of the reasons why um, still always people where with people. You understand? Think about it. There's another thing about it. The reason why we want to hire, why we want to hire somebody because we want somebody that can pull up first. This person gets fixed. However, again, I think about any business that is that whether it's mobile or my job, somebody that is managing the business. When we start to hire people, build the trust that this person can do this person can do that. Now, can we trust agents the same way that we can trust people? The reality, no. But does anybody think of that? Tell the function. Tell the function what you're doing. Tell them answer. You want to answer? So I can't fully trust in our things. But there's always stress in the AI. We have to try to fix what's in perspective. Well, share the points, share the points, don't have points that are very valid. But the reality is that if somebody, or if you have AI that is running this, right? And the AI that does something production without it, that is not supposed to be. Maybe the AI was highly was thinking that it's running command test environment, meanwhile it's running production or staging somewhere else. Right? And I just it's quite good to know the responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. You hopefully top six now, top money, top something. That's the agents and the production without this. That's very catastrophic. Big an agent needs your database. It's a huge amount of it because unless you have backups, your business might not return. And then now go back to accountability. Once both agent is responsible, let's say you actually but let's bring it back, right? Accountability is key. And the reason why uh, we employ people might hire quite get people that want to work. Um, so, but now we're thinking of working with AI. What does this actually like, how do we now extend that accountability to scale? Does this mean that the person that owns the account that is accountable, can we actually be able to say that? Or does it mean that the other mechanism that can decide who the account? Now, it's agents that are autonomous, right? There's the fact that agents we need to be able to verify or give verifiable evidence of what they are doing. That's the question to all the questions to our application. We are thinking about when people work in a lab application. I don't know any if any of us are working in lab application, organizations that have maturity to their process. We always make sure that some level of audit right, tracking who has access to what this person do, what are people do, are we ensuring that people are not to issue? How do we track that if it's saying that they are making X amount of money, that money is correct, it's accurate, there's no fraud, nobody gets money business. No, and when investors or people are calling to invest in a business, what you want with any business, you want to be sure that that business or its business groups are well with the. So If now we are bringing agents to be working with an enterprise and become kind of actions, and they are not tracking what they are doing, then one day people are trying to get maybe something goes wrong. They are trying to investigate, involve what is happening and it's happening because you don't have anything to do. Agents are not keeping any logs. What are you going to do? How to get a good line of Okay, so this is our question. Let's point to what our is important. Let's go next slide. So here we now applying something about the contract. So what does it mean? I mean, you can relate this to how we have existing works like where when people are working together and work together fine to have founded authorities in terms of what they're allowed to do. It needs to be able to give evidence that you say you've done this work, there's evidence of it. You say you've written code, and point to the data format that was shared. Say you have trained an AI model, and see the model, whether it's dominates or somewhere. If you say that you have done something, a document, you have access to the document, all of this evidence, and it needs to be accounted for or accountable when you are designing this kind of system. So this question something called problem, which is the ability to track the history of the origin of something that's hidden. So it's called well provenance. Don't mind issues that is can think of its origin as one of that so something. So for example, if you look at any if you look at when we are discussing cultural beliefs or Asian culture, particularly in Nigeria, whether it's Edo or Igbo, some of them would have artifacts, artworks that have some form of history, and you can tell, okay, this was made by these people in so time. You know that when the slave traders came, the artwork went this way, came to this place for X number of years. That's ability to track that information, all of that's for anyway, that's it. But I don't want to talk 40 times. Some people are sleeping. I guess. I'm great. And I would say that if we look at foreign living, so if you're going to be managing agents, then you have to say, okay, how do we assign agents? How do we run agents in safe environments? We have sandboxing, and then make sure that we can retrieve evidence of exactly what we do in the environment. Because this can be useful for different reasons. If you can run a business today, you are licensing your agents. I want the CBN, the central bank of Nigeria, or some other comes to your doorstep, and they want to understand how this thing works, what evidence can you provide. They are saying agents are doing X, Y, Z. How do you do that? Matrix. You understand? These are like regulatory requirements that bank did. Every single bank in Nigeria has bank. There's no bank go to work that is expressed by agency or people, right? They have processing data that are related to being able to comply with significant regulatory bodies. So you have need for this kind of regulation and compliance need, and then you now need to present things like evidence when agents are playing around the workspace. These are some important questions that to think about. Um, let's go to the next slide. This is just talking about how to actually combine the process. Anyone has questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, feel free to ask anytime. All right. So, and there are different use cases for this because the whole concept of people collaborating with agents, people are saying that there are different use cases, different workflows. We don't have how work with that, right? Can we remember how the work with? So what's the other work with? And also, research. Okay, at least you have the idea, right? Processing that's like possibly documents. And let's say once you have software like so how many of us here are software engineers, the right code, that also function, the right code, right code, it's always the right code. Think of the environment, the right code, it's a deployed code, you know, they want to automate your release process, right? You able to call agents in that release process. Maybe write some code, once it gets the code, you the code with the on how do they do it? I uh, I just did the when I read the first time, I just asked it to get to do maybe the time the component like it. So I would ask it to come to get the and something uh, back then, I'll just like connect it my idea to get what you call it, my AI IT. Same thing. Okay, well, they are not the style. I don't AI, let's make no mistake. Fair enough. Fair enough. Right. But that's cool, right? And um, beauty about this entire process of system that we are putting together, there is no one right way to make them things happen. So whether it's that gravity or also or something that it's anyone that are comfortable with it, there is no one right way to use this thing. It all depends on what suits your workflow, right? Depends on what suits your process, what you're comfortable with, and what you're able to see that. So yeah, next slide. Uh, so think about the fact that once you now start to compose these kind of systems, um, you can actually what this slide is talking about. Like, it's not bad enough, but maybe I can see what the title is. Like, really reliable podcast starts from far. So, but imagine you have defined workflow, defined processes, defined connections to build artifacts, generate evidence, create systems or so you can it's a very important part of the system. Now, not every ability to do this. Some of these artifacts, at some point, they can be used, right? So let's say we want to automate a process. You can write a script once, you can use an LLM, for instance, to generate a script, right? That automates that process. And then subsequently, you have that script that can also do that process for you. You don't have to call your LLM again. So that's an example of how that work can start to compound. Because you can think about the fact that as you are building out different stages, as I interacting with this AI, you are maybe abstracting with the AI and developing documents, you're writing code. Because there is different forms of intelligence and context that you have in the project. You are bringing that context to the agent, you're just giving it feedback, you're correcting it, you're driving it. In some cases, you're even like driving it toward a certain goal. Or it could even set up the agent to be driving itself towards that goal once you think what's the foundation should be, whether it is good engineering or graphics design, material things for it, right? Have we heard those terms before? Have we heard them? No, who hasn't heard, who has heard about, anyway, that's about to dive into that now. But the point is that if we start to have collaboration with agents and workspaces where you can aggregate the content that you are working with these agents, because you can create processes that can allow the work to compound so that in subsequent scenarios where you are doing similar processes and so you can directly learn whether from one agent, the one person is a computer to another, in the same workspace and they can communicate. But let's get to the next slide. If you guys have questions, please feel free. So, we all right. So, this is introducing software that's been working on doing research. It's called Guide. And Guide is basically that it works with some open source. Yeah, it works with very good collaborate AI agents. You have access to different tools in your workspace, like Gmail, Slack, your whatever tools that you use right, for your organization workflow. And then um, and you can set up these agents can activate your workflow. And then when we're doing slow research, what we're doing at research, right? In marketplace, where people can now deploy their agents can be like their property and make money for them on the network. Mine from the people. Yeah, so I'm aware of the concept of agent marketplace and um, agent transactional, where agents are communicating with each other and getting like trading services or goods, paying each other for the call, the export. We either like things for the striker as long as striker should get one game to get started. Both of them have been doing all of these systems. We need to read up on I'm saying this and you remember that you guys demonstrate, you know that you do it. And if you understand these things, allow you to better things right of how to build the systems together. Why it's even important for us to be thinking about it. Okay, so let's move on. So regarding that perspective of agents, and then we now have another system directed between people that want to make money from their contribution. Anytime somebody does a piece of work by whether it's the person or an agent that belongs to somebody, right? So somebody like this, my man now, when you want to say this to you, it's your man now. Yes, at some point you may say you want to be an agent that specialized in what you do, right? It's truly like specialized in specific instructions, skills that are tailored to own understanding, right? I can deploy it in the marketplace where you can get stuff for you. You understand? The laboratory that will give that you can your own marketplace and you get some token payment anytime the agent is able to render out value. I think that makes sense. But that makes sense. That's just one example. It doesn't have to be many things. It could be point, quality assurance. It could be another example. Code. The different kinds of agents you can work. For example, of agents can be stock picker. Yes, an agent that cannot pick stocks that is look at agents from those things like this meeting and it gets to the finish of it. We saw the other meeting. Does that make sense? Do you think that's possible? Alright, you don't know. People actually blame it's not like I'm saying something that is possible. People are telling there are people that are agents that are mind doing all kinds of tasks, researching the internet. And these agents are fun because they're based on I think for the network that they want to participate in. Yeah. I wish we anyways, we are doing this work mutually at Research and figuring out ways to solve the strategy while ensuring that everybody or every system, whether you're a person like agent or you're an agent that belongs to a person or an agent that is managing other agent, whatever it's to have like fair and the value as we are using all the different resources within that. Yeah, that's the question. It's one of the agents the same as another. Well, it's not the same. No, she's not the same. That different. So you can use the model to go and so think about it like an agent is the complex, right? The system doesn't have complex, but it's a system. The system has different parts. So one of these parts of the agent is a model, can be a model. You understand? So model can be part of it. What's the model? The large model. specialized module. The module is trained, goes to a training process, training, fine tuning, whatever it is. You get final model, charge the weights of the model that you train, like can deploy it somewhere, behind an API or whatever. You can API that is part of the model. So that model man is a component of agents. So what's agents? I call it environments that around model. There are different kinds of agent management thinking about it. But what the agent do is that it's targeting a goal and it's model is so that it's taking context, passing it to the model, getting the response from the model, making sense of it, calling workflows, moving towards that to getting the context, making sense of it, passing it to the model again, getting it back, calling tools, you understand? So agents are just running like that. So that's how so really collect that part for actually when we do all these other collections are being made, it's being collected for the model rates. Yeah. From the agents have to manage the model states. Yeah. I'm not making it. All right. So, um, next slide. Regarding the past marketplace for work stream, I think the different projects that can be routed or managed by people and agents in open marketplaces. We discussed that. Next slide. Then, yeah, some of the biggest winners of this system would be small businesses. So imagine a small project that you don't have a big project, you don't have much money to pay one fast stuff, but just two engineers without business, and you're installing or working with a bunch of specialized agents. You understand? So the agents, of course, would have greatly reduced their cost from having to hire a full-time staff. The agent itself could even be an agent that belongs to an expert. That somebody has been a agent or somebody else. The agent can be rendering its own service, whether it's quality assurance, you name it, right? We look at legal advice, counseling, yeah. And then, of course, just have your two engineers that really have much project for the time. At least cut costs and study with the start their workforce, service their business. So small businesses could be very much big relying on this kind of system. Next slide. As the cost of intelligence fall, it will be important to sell this system in the right way, with that we can get to cost of inference, can have cheap inference. What that means is that instead of people having to pay $200 per month, $500 per month, so let's go charge it to your cable, right? Based on the architecture of the system, based on the design of the system, and which includes how much you're spending, how much food is spending, you want to access intelligence. Micro, I like the ask questions, you guys don't ask questions here, like people know everything. So yes, I like when people know. So, yeah, California, this is this so this video they have how big this video has events. These are the things at the stay they have a backbone price. Have an edited source that you do something. Yeah. So very nice question. So it's pretty much related to what this slide is trying to say or talking about, which is that uh based on the architecture, we always go back to architecture. And I don't know in this show I don't know depending on what's there, understand what software architecture is. If you don't know what software architecture is, it's hard to spend some time understanding what software architecture is about. But in the same way that you have a building, an architect needs to design that building, right? Putting out the skills that are architect. An architect is somebody that needs to make sense of the kind of material or layout, structure, drawing the analogy to make sure that you have design, right? That's architecture before it's not finally built. Anyways, software architecture, I mentioned it because um, a lot of people don't pay attention to software architecture now because people have access to it, for all kinds of coding tools. And the truth is, if you don't understand software architecture, you can't even direct the LLM to make the best decision. Are you getting what I'm saying? You need to understand trade-offs because architecture is about trade-offs, and architecture is a very fundamental part of building systems that can even work. Yes, and when you see architecture, what does that mean? Where are you going to serve your model from? Are you going to host it on the cloud? You're hosting it on the cloud, of course, immediately you have a cloud cost. By default, everything in the cloud is charging you. You have to have whatever. You're already incurred cost there. But what are the alternatives? You want to serve your model to one provider, you want to serve it from local edge type architecture. These are things that people who understand architecture think about. You don't just think about how to write code, how to build software, how to not like that. Just make mistakes to build software like wasting money. So if you have understanding of systems and how they work, and better design those systems that can give much lower cost of operation. And that of course translates to better business outcomes. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so pretty much all of this you ideas that we translate towards going next slide. Um yeah, and the road ahead basically involves um helping small businesses to augment their processes with agents, globalize intelligence as much as possible to lower costs. And then make sure, of course, that the systems remain open source. People start contributing to it. Yeah, honestly. And that's about it. I don't think I skip this one. So that's what Flow Research is about. Once join the Discord, you have a QR code there. So you can feel free to join. Um, I have a few questions. I hope that you guys will able to get one or two minutes from the conversation. Yeah. 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 Mhm. Yes. That the internet is finance. No? So, how do your question is how do finance do it? How do finance people? Yeah. What is the key? People. Yeah. Uh, yeah, so compensation comes from who is the market value, who is the market value, the person that wants applications as who wants that, what we can get there. Uh, yes, yes, yes. And professional also is concept of an AI operator, someone that operates AI and wants to AI to accomplish that on the network, right? And then, of course, plan or the idea that the task for your projects are funded by industry partners, right? Research projects are they are ready to fund it. So the tasks that involve projects, you don't get involved. license. I think it's more like so. If you are going to be confining for a family, like they are needs are in lifetime plan. For example, structure, I need that. Anything else? Yes. Okay, so in the plans one, we think so we are back to yes. Yes, so of course, this is protection that of course your digital assets or your agents are the property. It's not you. And there are different levels by which we can allow agents to operate. All of it depends on the level of principle of fencing that agent can want to. So maybe we're going to introduce processes for fencing agents. If you want your agents to have a certain level of be certified that they are including speech and can make now think about the app store. Once you deploy an app to the share, you know it's happening or actually before it goes live. Right? So if source network is saying that they want to allow then the community within the network is going to build what's being put out there and taking accountability what's being put out there. You understand? All of this, of course, in some cases, we arrange no contracts, agreement, or that's not the stuff. Yes, I'm so I think need this uh, I think the focus is mostly on small business. Now, for small businesses, it's privacy in concern in terms of document and no, I usually don't read the contract. What's we can research other fields, uh if you source we have to call process because of the child without no privacy that we got. I mean, everything is it's a market page. Like, you want to buy your preference, you want the close stuff, you want the close stuff, the small business. So, no, they may not be able to afford to pay. They may not be able to defend. In some cases, they could, but sometimes they want to go for cheaper open source modules. Companies want to find cheap modules of their own. It, so there are different parts of the portfolio. Yeah. So I guess that's it. If you have any questions, thank you. Much appreciated. Sorry. Oh, yes, so it's so much to invite this person to have that. Thank you so much.